A friend and dear friend recommended we listen to something of Eckhart Tolle's. And in listening to it, it reminded us so much of what we're always showing people. There's gold in the difficulty that we experience in life. And how do we move beyond that? That's always the question. And there's one simple statement that if you just reflect on it, let it in more deeply, you'll gain a lot from it. And that's welcoming whatever arises in life, releasing the resistance to life.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. We did a blog on welcoming what arises and surrender into life. We keep coming back to this theme because it has made such a difference in our lives. Any conflict we ever had was always, as we reflect on it now, a resistance to what was showing up. You know, we'd have a difference of opinion, how to spend some money or where to go or whatever. How clean to keep the kitchen.
That's for sure. That's been a big area
for somebody.
possibility.
Right. Differences of opinion. And in my mind, I would go to war over it. My point of view is what it's all about. Instead of what we see now, when that trigger, brings up some strong feeling, some strong emotion, instead of kind of opening to welcome it in and see what it really is, I want to push back against it. This feeling must mean there's something dangerous about to happen. She's got to change. This situation has to change. That guy that cut me off, he should be shot.
At least.
Trying to change something outside of myself to bring myself back to a state of equanimity. We did one on that just recently too, didn't we? That state, that sense of well-being.
Yeah, recognizing that from this place of welcoming all that arises, we begin to see that all circumstances are neutral and they only carry difficulty from our thinking about them, our viewpoint, our perspective. And when we welcome them and see what they may have come to teach us, life changes.
I like what you say, this difficulty, whatever I label as a difficulty, it's my label. The situation is really pretty neutral. How clean or dirty the kitchen is, whether I got cut off or whether the weather isn't doing what I want. All of those situations are really quite neutral. But my thinking about it, she shouldn't be pushing back this way, this guy shouldn't have cut me off. That's what creates the difficulty. And so, in a way, I get back far enough to kind of look at my life and how life works. Anytime I experience something that I would say is a difficulty, it's because I'm resisting what is, resisting just really meeting and going into what is occurring. Because when I've done that, it's been so phenomenal. The big one for me, as I've mentioned before, but maybe you haven't heard that blog, was around my anger. I was really afraid of my anger. And growing up, it's like anger was a no-no. You never expressed anger or you were in trouble. So I grew up with a lot of coping strategies to not find myself in a situation where I was angry. If I started to get angry, I'd try and talk myself out of it or whatever, which of course never works. But I developed a lot of dysfunctional behaviors trying to control my anger instead of being willing to just once meet it, feel it, experience what it is. And it wasn't until, I don't know, a couple of years ago, maybe, I really did it. Now, we did a lot of workshops. We did a lot of support groups, all
Sure.
about feeling your feelings.
Yeah.
But the approach with that was feel your feeling and give it expression. Get it out. It's like it was something in me that had to come out. If I got it out, it'd be gone, I'd be okay. But that overlooks the fact that what puts it in there isn't a circumstance that, I got angry about. What puts it in there is the meaning that I give to the circumstance. So I have to change my perspective on how I see life, not how I deal with circumstances, not how I manage and control aspects of my experience.
Well, the question comes, how does this relate to food? And when we resist life, when we push against it, it creates unrest within. And so then we'll go to an old habit pattern to try to calm ourselves down or at least feel better. And food often is what we reach for, to try to calm the
storm,
a rising storm that we've created. Yeah, through the meaning that we've given those circumstances.
Yeah. Doesn't look like we're creating the storm. It looks like the storm is having us.
So when you want to reach for something and you're not hungry, as we've said so many times, that's the opportunity to really just get quiet, let the mind and all that stirred up thinking settle, and go into the feeling, lean into it like a little kid who's curious and dumb. We don't know what's in there, but we're going to explore.
Yeah, innocent exploration.
Yeah. And often you will see an old belief that is under the surface, unseen usually, that is driving that behavior. And when you see it, that's where change takes place.
Yeah, like my experience of when I really dropped into this energy of anger, it was so amazing because what I saw was this energy that I've labeled anger, and therefore, because it has the label anger, should not be felt, should not be, certainly not expressed, and has no place in my life. When I went into that energy, it was like beautiful. It was like the passion of life. Anger has a place in the human experience. It's supposed to come up when we really need to defend ourselves. We need that kind of energy. That's the pure passion of life for survival. But in our lives, that are relatively safe, most of the time when I'm triggered, I'm really not being threatened. I mean, if someone cuts me off in traffic, it's like nothing really happened. I'm one car length farther back. But, this anger comes up and I indulge it and it takes me off and I'm miserable. So when I discovered the beauty of the energy of anger, it changed everything. I'm not afraid of it anymore.
It's so great.
Yeah. And the thing that came up with Ekhart Tolle that was kind of cute is he referred to the Frog Prince, the fairy tale of the Frog Prince, and how when the princess kissed the frog turned into a prince. And that's fascinating to me that we've had this folklore. We've had this kind of teaching in our culture for thousands of years, actually. I looked it up. It's like literary historians feel like this story is like over 4,000 years old.
Wow.
And was passed on, word of mouth for millennia. And how is it that has stayed the test of time? And to me, it's simply because there is a truth in it. That if we're willing to embrace something that looks like it shouldn't be embraced, it's so counterintuitive, isn't it? To kiss a frog. It's like, why would anybody do that? But the kind of moral of the story to me is that if we're willing to embrace life, despite appearances, because it looks like anger is a terrible thing and should never be in my life. But that's the appearance it has when I give it this label that anger is wrong. I'm going to get in trouble if I express or feel anger. When I go into that feeling, it really did transform from this ugly creature, frog, beast, to beauty. So that's the thing, that our difficulties really are an opportunity to, there's gold in them, like Connie says, to be able to experience the essence of life that's at the core of every experience, even our negative emotions.
Yeah, so when we resist life, we're creating frogs. And those froggies, we can give a big smooch to by leaning in and exploring what they really are, what they've come to show us. And that brings the magic of life
Yeah, it's
alive.
Like that story, The Frog Prince, and also Beauty and the Beast. The prince was turned into a frog, and the beast was turned into the beast by a spell. They were under the spell of a witch. And isn't it interesting that my label, anger, wrong, is the spell that I put on that experience?
Yeah,
so it looks good. So deformed and inappropriate and not beautiful in my life. When at its core, if I would just kiss it, it would be completely different.
Yeah. So the recipe today was really good. We made it yesterday for the first time. It's a millet black bean Mexican salad. Quick to make, very simple to make. Lots of good ingredients, healthy for the body, and we served it on a big bed of lettuce. That's the most healthy part of the dish. And it's a one-dish meal. Really good. So give it a try and see what you think, especially if you like Mexican flavor. You'll like this.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.